Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Jenna Donovan. Jenna is a galactic channel who guides her clients through deep spiritual expansion and self discovery. When you're a part of her world, she takes you to the depths of the shadows with her while she helps you to navigate the uncomfortable truths that come up. She dives deep into your akashic records, connecting you back to your galactic roots and unlocking ancient wisdom that lies deep within your DNA. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait for you to meet her. And so let's say hello to her right now. Welcome, Jenna.
Hi.
Hi, I'm so happy to have you here in my podcast today.
Thank you
And I
for
can't
having
wait.
me.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to tell our story. So tell us, what was your life like before you started into your spiritual awakening?
That feels like a very loaded question.
Just tell
Because
us a little
I
bit
know, no,
about
I
like
get it.
where
Yeah,
you
I get it.
were. Where were you?
Um, so before prior, I found myself in a lot of toxic situations that I didn't realize were toxic at the time. My childhood was not awful, but it wasn't the best. Um, I had really great, loving parents who had their own stuff. And I think that just learning um, now, what I learned now, yeah, I don't think I realized how toxic I even was or the situations that I got myself into until, actually until I had a kid and now the awakening part of it. Yeah, it was I was not the same person as I was back then, that's for sure. It's hard to look back. Sometimes it's hard to look back at it because it's like, wow, I really am not that person anymore. And I totally did not see myself growing into the person I am now. Because it was just I was just so fogged up and clouded with everything that was wrong in my life rather than what it was teaching me. Um, so yeah, I did a lot of drinking, substance abuse. Um, I worked at a bar for a while, so that didn't help. Yeah, I basically drank my problems to go away, and then I drank my problems to feel them. And somewhere along the lines, it really was not helpful at all. And now I don't drink at all. So
Yeah, amazing. I think that's really common in people, like
yeah.
growing up and as toxic as your relationship with yourself or your parents or
Mhm.
your family or your partners even might be, we may not realize it because that's all we know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
So you
And
don't
that's,
know.
yeah, exactly. I had no idea. I had no idea, like, even with myself.
Hmm.
I think I've always been self-aware. I just never knew what to do with that awareness. I didn't know it was trying to tell me something either. And just being being in some of the situations that I was in, I didn't realize there was patterns. I didn't realize there was like cycles. I didn't realize that I was actually even reliving like obviously past lives once you get into the journey of the spiritual journey. But yeah, it's really like mind-boggling how subtle it can be, especially when you're used to it. And then it just watching, just now looking back and watching myself go through those situations, it's first you beat yourself up over it because you're like, how could I have not seen that? But exactly like you said, it's what I was used to seeing. It was what I was used to being around. Um, yeah, it's not exactly easy to heal from either because you have to
So,
change yourself in the process. That's the hard part.
yeah, so okay, so you were pretty much in a toxic relationship throughout your life until your
Yeah.
spiritual awakening. Tell me what happened for you to actually lean into what you were listening, that awareness that you said you had all the time, and then, beginning your spiritual awakening and your spiritual path? Like, what happened to make you actually shift into that spark?
Someone used the word abuse with me, to be honest. Someone told me I was being abused and I had no idea. And then it kind of just, I had my daughter, so I was like, why I don't want to show my daughter this. And then I left the relationship, but I honestly don't even know if that was like my pivotal, that's what got me. That was like my dark night of the soul is what I would call it now as I'm on my journey. But I also got into a car accident with my daughter, that I feel like really kind of started my awakening because it wasn't until that point. I was literally in like such a crappy part of my life too. Like everything, I was still in that, why is everything happening to me? Everything's always happening. Like everything bad's always happening. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And that car accident, after the car accident, it was just like my life was just different after that. Like I started becoming more energetically aware of what was happening. Um, I think it was, I would say in January when the pandemic started happening, probably like January, February. That's when I started really actually noticing that something was changing, and I couldn't really put my actual finger on what was happening. I didn't have anybody around me that was on the spiritual journey, so I had no idea until I slowly started meeting more people who were on the same journey. Um, but I would have to say, like, I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty serious accident. Like I would didn't think of it until now that it was like a near-death experience. And I know that's a lot for people as a catalyst in their spiritual journey. But I wouldn't have known that then. I don't think I even realized that now until recently. I feel like was my actual catalyst. Um, but it also opened me up to parts of myself that I wasn't aware of prior to that. Um, I don't even think I still even realized that I was toxic myself up until that point. I was just kind of still in my own woe is me, everything is happening to me stage in my life. And I know something just it just started changing. I can't even explain how it just happened. Like I wasn't looking for it. And it just kind of like all of a sudden I'm like meditating, then I'm like buying things like I always love crystals. I mean, crystals are always pretty, but they started having different meanings. I started doing cards more myself rather than getting readings from other people. Um, I think it's always been in my life, but not the way it is now. It's always been an interest, but it's never been something that I grasped for myself. Um, so I don't know, it's just been a wild ride since then.
So many people actually go through something huge like that, like either a divorce or death of someone or an accident like that. And
Hmm.
that really is our spirit guides or our higher self or the divine God, whomever it is that you work with,
Hmm.
that is just putting you back in the path. Like, hey, I'm trying to tell you, I'm whispering, you're not listening. And it's like,
Yeah,
boom, will you listen
yeah,
now?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it was too. Even
Uh-huh.
leaving my relationship, it just felt like a landslide of things just happening one thing after another. I mean, I lost 30 pounds when I first left my relationship because I was full of anxiety. I was having panic attacks. And I never had those before. So like it was, I don't know that. And then when the accident happened, like it was still kind of like, woe is me. But then we got then we all had to stay home. And then, I mean, what else was I going to do but sit there with my own thoughts? At first, it wasn't really some, I drank a lot in the beginning. And then I just slowly started being like, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't. And I was smoking cigarettes still. And then I just quit. The last time I quit smoking cigarettes, it was the easiest I've ever had to just quit. It just happened. And then the drinking just went along with it. And it's just and that means alcoholism runs in my family also. And it's just been, it was just like one thing right after another. But yeah, I think it was that really that experience, but the relationship, leaving the relationship is really what like started that whole process, because I wouldn't have been able to start the healing process without it. So,
Amazing. And yeah, that 2020 was like a year when like so many people awoke because they had the time. They had time, the time, the
hmm,
space to just be home. There was nothing else to do.
yeah,
And people started going within. So that was amazing. There's another huge one coming up this year, where a lot more people are going to be awakening. So
hmm,
this is why I'm really passionate about like sharing all of the beautiful healers that I know in my podcast, because we all can reach out and help the new people that are coming up, and the people who were like where you were, like, I don't know,
hmm,
I'm feeling different. I'm doing, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know
yeah,
where to go. So, like, this is why I feel it's so important to share this, so that people know, hey, this person, I resonate with that person. Oh, this person also does,
yeah.
and I know them. And so, amazing. Okay, so after you had your first like, okay, excellent, I started going within, I started meditating, doing these things. What changes did you get to see among yourself by doing these changes during your spiritual journey?
I started feeling a lot lighter, that's for sure. I also started realizing I could feel energy a lot easier, a lot. I was more aware of it. I wasn't that I could feel it, probably. I was just more aware of it. Um, I started channeling, which was something I didn't even know I was had the capability of doing. Um, I I started opening up more, especially after I hired my first mentor or my first coach. That was when I really, I mean, because I still went through 2020 and I still didn't really realize what was going on that whole year. And it's probably till like the end of the year when I really started like, that's when like I was like, oh, my soul is not from this place. Oh, what does that mean? And then that was the landslide of let's go down the rabbit hole of everything else. But then I hired my first mentor in 2021, and that's when I started meeting more souls like myself, and I started acquiring more support. And for me, I had no idea what half of the things were. I didn't know what the Akashic records were. I didn't know. It opened up me to a world of beyond just tarot cards and birth charts and astrology and all that. It opened me up to
Amazing.
um, yeah, it
There's a
opened me up
whole
to
other
like,
world out
yeah,
there,
I was
people.
like, whoa, what is this? Um, and that's how I met all of you. Like I met you through the same group that's with Kylie's group. And I think my friend Holly just added me to the group and I was like, oh, what's the Akashic Records? And then all of a sudden I'm reading the Akashic Records. I'm channeling energy. I'm, telepathically connecting with my guides and other beings that I didn't even know I could do. Um, and then I just started, once I got out of my own way about it, I started using my abilities to help other people and to help them connect to themselves. My favorite is connecting others to their galactic selves. That's probably one of my favorite things to do because that's been probably the biggest part of my healing journey is discovering that part of myself, and embodying that part of myself. Um, and then light language has changed a lot too. I love singing it and speaking it. It was weird at first, but now I'm just like it's like speaking like I'm speaking English right now. It's the most natural thing. It's the most beautiful thing that I think that's my favorite part of my awakening was learning light language or remembering light language and then being able to channel different kinds of them to help others through it too. And it's beautiful. I love it makes me cry and then they get the emotion too and it's like, oh, it's so beautiful how this can connect us so deeply.
Amazing. I just want to
Mhm,
go back here a little bit and say, like, everyone, if you listen
mhm,
to this, if you're like just coming into this for the first time or just hearing this, like, everyone can chat and
mhm,
everyone has their own spiritual abilities within, just like Jenna does, just like I do, and they're all there. just coming out. We just need to remember, just like Jenna said, I started remembering how to do this. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing. We are remembering already who we truly are, and
Mm-hmm.
bringing up all of these gifts and abilities that we have buried within ourselves throughout our own spiritual journey. So just wanted to put that out there, like, like
Yeah.
it's not some specific
Nope.
lucky people or people who are born that way or whatever. It's pretty much it's everybody. If you
Yeah,
choose it.
exactly. That's why I like the using the words abilities over gifts because they're
Me
not
too.
given to us. They're what we already had. We've already had them. We're just awakening to remembering how to use them or that they're even there to begin with. Because if you ask me, I don't know, even maybe 3 years ago, I wouldn't I wouldn't even be at all expecting to be helping other women that were in my position at one point and helping them through their own spiritual journey or their own healing journey. Um, it's not where I saw myself. It's not even where I saw myself 5 years ago. So, and this isn't what I dreamed of when I was a little kid. I didn't know. I had no idea. I actually dreamt of being a singer, which is still something that can be in the works. I know that. But it's changed me as a person. I've softened a lot to myself and to other people. And I really need to stress the fact that I've stressed that I have softened to myself because I have always been really hard on myself and I still kind of am at times. Um, but I have grown to love myself a lot more and a lot harder over the years. And I think for me, my biggest realization throughout the whole entire journey was realizing that I didn't love myself enough to not allow people to treat me the way that they treated me, because I wanted to be loved. And I thought that was their way of, saying they loved me, and it really was not. Um, and I think for me, that was my biggest eye opener was to really, really admit to myself on a very honest level that I did not love myself enough to not accept behavior that was not nice behavior. Um,
That's
and
huge.
yeah, it was really probably that was probably the pivotal point of my actual healing and learning how to really return the love to myself that I give to other people. Really opening my heart to myself the way I would open my heart to other people. Being vulnerable with myself the way I would allow myself to be vulnerable with other people. Um, and feelings were always shut off for me at some point. That's exactly how I would dissociate a lot. I would disconnect and numb myself when it would get too much. But the the fact of how much I actually love myself now compared to years ago, like it's very I am not I probably I was just so miserable and I'm just not anymore. And I would never have ever would have thought that I would end up in this space that I am in now. Like maybe even last year, I don't think I even, had seen myself in this position. Like as far as I have come in my journey itself. Um, it's really like getting teary-eyed for myself, but I'm really proud of myself. I really, really am. And I'm really I'm really excited and to help and serve other women that, are on their journeys and might, that need the guidance that I needed. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, I really actually have loved this journey as messy and chaotic as it has been. But finding the, finding the light in the darkness part of my journey was probably like the pivotal, like just admitting all that stuff to myself was really when the light started shining on other things so I could heal even deeper and show myself even deeper love in that moment.
Amazing. That's such a huge turnaround. How are your relationships now?
Much healthier. Uh, I still am healing on some levels because it's not even just, this lifetime. I'm healing from lifetimes of people pleasing and codependency and all that stuff. But my relationships now, I have a very strong network of women who I know I can turn to and will support me through whatever it is I'm moving through. I'm in a healthy relationship, a romantic one, which has its own challenges after being in toxic ones for so long, but he's very patient and understanding. Um, and just all of my relationships now, it feels like everything's reciprocal. Like I'm not giving too much and I'm not taking too much. We're in this space where we just understand each other. I could go longer periods of time without talking to someone and we can just pick up right where we left off. Like some of the women that I've met in the beginning of my journey, I hadn't talked to in a while. And then I realized when I go to talk to them again, or we just come around and connect again, we've been going through the same exact things or similar situations, healing the same parts of ourselves. And when we come back to each other to connect again, it's like this deeper, like this deeper connection between the two of us. Um, and I don't think I've ever had deep relationships with women before. I don't have, I was always male relationships, and now it's like I have more women in my life than I do men. That's never happened. And
Divine
it's just
feminine coming in.
yeah, exactly. And it's like it's different, but I and I'm not in toxic friendships where, we're catty to each other. We're just open and honest if one hurts the other one, or, feelings get hurt sometimes, but we're open and transparent about it, rather than beating around the bush and kind of just being mad for, um, and just not talking about it and just letting it go. I'm probably more open and honest now and more vulnerable now than I've ever been, um, ever. And I'm okay with it. Um, and I think being vulnerable and just being honest with how I'm feeling in that moment, no matter how bad it is, being able to just accept myself in that moment, no matter what it is I feel, has been a huge game changer for me too. Not shaming myself for feeling this way or that way. So, and it's helped me be able to see other like the opposite way. Like, so if it was like you, I'm able to see it from a different point of view before where I wasn't able to see it from there a while ago. Well, years ago, I should say.
So now that you've gone through your spiritual journey, and I know you're still going through because this is a journey, there's no
Mhm.
destination.
Exactly.
um, and you started sharing your abilities with other people and helping them heal as well. How does that look in your life right now?
Right now, that looks like a woman's circle that I hold, um, where we take a journey through a rose garden. I've been using a lot of the rose energy lately. Mary Magdalene's been a very um, big guide for me, taking us back into the sisterhood of the rose and just sisterhood in general. Um, I'm helping women in my situation also, and just helping people reconnect to their spirituality, their spiritual selves, helping them and guiding them through that journey, which has been, for me, it's been very helpful to have those people outside of my guides to help guide me through it. I don't know why, but I'm just always been really good at guiding people, or just, you know, being that a lot of people say you always know what the right thing to say, like all the time. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I didn't. And now I realize it's because I'm a channel. It's because that's just the part of channeling that I didn't understand until then. Um, but I always do have the right things to say at the right moments for whatever reason. I'll just chalk it up to my soul, just knows how to channel it through me. Um, but I have to say, still, my favorite thing is connecting people with that galactic part of themselves. And I don't know, it strikes a part in my soul, like in my heart, that just like, it's, I don't know, it's like a feeling I can't describe, but it's like I can feel their relief at the same time as the joy of like finding this part of themselves all over, like, or not even remembering more than finding, remembering this part of themselves that they didn't even realize was there, or they had this inkling that it might be there, but they were just too scared to explore it on their own. Um, it's just the the unconditional love that I have felt through some of those sessions has just been, and being able to facilitate that has been like probably like my favorite part of that. And for me, that's what's helped me be like, for me, that part of me has helped me grow into, the person that I am now. Um, I feel like that was a big part of me that I discovered that I had no idea. Um, and then just helping women like myself, try like just finding love after toxic relationships, or sometimes they just lose. I almost lost hope. I didn't think I was going to find somebody. I also wasn't open to it for a while, and and now I am. But and that was another thing. I firmly wanted to heal a little bit and get to know myself before I jumped into another relationship. Um, but yeah, it just, I don't know. I really love guiding people. I really love like just letting them, see that it's there for them already, that I don't have to do anything, that it's just already there. It's just I'm holding the space so that you feel safe enough to open up to that part of yourself. Um, and I
Tell
don't know,
me,
it's just a beautiful.
tell us a little bit more about your galactic readings. Like, how did that come about for you? Like, how did you discover you could go into that part and read people's galactic
Um,
stuff?
It started with the Akashic records, really. And I was like, oh, if there's an Akashic records, is there a galactic Akashic records or a galactic library? And I did ask that question. Somebody said yes. And then once they said yes, I was like, all right, well, that's what I need. That's what I need to know how to read. Um, and some people will say they're the same, Akashic, Galactic. I personally think they're a little different, not in the fact of like where you go, like the Akashic is just one frequency and the Galactic is just another frequency of reading energy. Um, so that all comes from my other self, Nova, actually. That's really what, like, she's been part of my journey through since the beginning. And connecting with her and just opening up to that side of myself, just kind of gradually turned into, well, I want other people to connect to this side of themselves. This has been like a huge part of my healing process. It really has been a huge part of my healing process. Not just even my spiritual journey. It's just been a part of the healing in general. And it was also the shadow part of myself that, when I started shadow work, I thought it was all bad, like it's all trauma and this and that. And it's really not. It's more about accessing those parts of yourself that you rejected in other people and stuffed down there in the dark. Um, and you just were afraid to bring it to the light, and and that's basically, I don't know, I think that's just where it all began, was just trying to just discovering this part, going through the shadow aspects of the journey itself, and then just realizing how awesome it is to be able to connect to these beings and having this connection within myself. I just wanted to share it with other people, and make other people aware that this part of them, this is a part of you too. Like we're all galactic of some sort,
So
cosmic beings.
sorry.
No, it's
So
okay.
for people who are may not understand or really know what that galactic beings or galactic family means, could you tell us a little bit more about it? Maybe give us an example about where your galactic family comes from or where your roots come from. Would you like sharing that?
So I am not quite sure where exactly my roots lie galactically. It hasn't been fully revealed to me yet, but I can tell you that I have roots from Arcturus, and Lemuria. Lemuria is probably, I know Lemuria was like considered possibly an earthly time, but it was also very spiritual too. We didn't really, we had light bodies at the time. still. Lemuria was probably like the part that was like, ooh, what's that? Like that's the part that I went down the rabbit hole and I was like, oh, and then Starseed and all that stuff just kind of just started opening up along with it. Um, so for me, it was, I do know that I do know I have had lifetimes in Orion, which is the Orion's belt star system. Um, I do know that I've had lives as an Andromedan, which is the galaxy. And I just, I don't know. It's just like, so for me, it was like, I always looked at Orion's belt when I was a kid. I always loved the stars. I always loved learning about the planets. I just loved, I used to love going to the planetarium in Boston. There's a museum of science. And I kind of just like, once I started awakening this part, I kind of just like allowed myself to follow these little tidbits of things. Um, and then it just started feeling true in my body. It just started feeling like I cried for things I don't even remember, but they felt so true. And connecting with Nova has been a big part of that. And she took me on my own little wild spiritual journey with her. And I know that we're not technically separate, but in a soul sense, like she's a different soul than I am, but we share energy. So I can't quite say if she's like a big part of the reason why I just like I started to discover this part of myself. But she definitely came in right after the car accident happened, and that's when I started going through the whole star seed. Um, Whatever the star seed, I'll just call it a loophole. I mean, a rabbit hole because that's exactly what it is.
So
Um,
who's Nova really?
so Nova is Octurian, and she's my twin galactic sister,
Mm.
my galactic twin sister, I should say. We have two different souls. We were cut from the same star. Of my whole journey, I've been told I had a twin sister. I didn't really understand what that meant because I'm not a twin in the physical world. Um, and she has played different parts in my journey. But then one day I was just like, I thought she was me for a while. And I took her on as my identity for a little bit. Then it just started feeling not like my identity. And so it's been a trip with her in the whole process. It's been very confusing. But I'm at this point in my journey now that I'm like, she is me, I am her. I don't really look at us as separate now. I do think of us as like twin sisters. Um, but she's been a very big part of the galactic part of my journey. And it's like it she literally feels like a twin sister. There's been times where she hasn't been around and it felt like I was literally missing a whole other half of myself. Um, and now we're together. So now we're just fully integrated with each other. We have our own missions. We have our missions together. We have our own purposes separate. Um, and you know, that's like a whole like other part of my journey. That's like its own journey in its own self.
So tell me, how do you actually how do you receive, like, there's people who are clairvoyant or clairaudience, like, or they're just like the knowing, like how is it that you receive the guidance from your guides and from Nova?
I think it's a mixture of just knowing, feeling, and hearing. Because even though I hear my voice, I don't hear it as someone's separate voice, but I also know it's not my voice. It comes in very much like my own voice, though. But I get tingly, so I receive information through that. I can tell when I'm channeling energy because my body temperature will change, or I'll get tingly. Um, I'm working on the sight part, but it's not my strong suit. So I've been focused on it. So I had taken a step back from really focusing on and just honing in on what I actually am strong at. The feeling part is probably the most prominent for me because I can feel other people's feelings.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes I have the habit of taking them on as my own. Um, but I'm starting to learn the difference. Uh, but I would say between the three, it's kind of like a mixture. Sometimes I just know, sometimes I can hear it or I'll, have a thought. And then the feeling part just kind of like follows with that too. And our emotions are also messages. So um, I'm learning kind of since I've come to that realization, I think I'm going to start a little bit more paying attention to how I feel, because it isn't always mine. So, um, and I do tend to take it on. That was the biggest part of the beginning is I had taken on so much of other people's that I had to clear that before I could even get to my own stuff. So
Mhm.
I had no idea what was mine and what wasn't mine. Um, and I think that's again another journey in its own self because I feel like there's like mini journeys in between the journey because you go through way more than just one little journey because you have different aspects of it.
So on
Um,
that note of you like feeling everybody else's energies and absorbing and being
mhm.
able to feel energetically what other people are going through, does that just happen, or do you have like boundaries or put in like, like not now, like this is my time, or are you just like, does it just come in, like how does that work for you?
So I've had to set boundaries because that can lead, being so open like that can lead to people energetically, where people don't realize they're doing this, consciously anyway. People can take your energy without you being consciously aware of them being consciously aware. But
Energy
also,
vampires.
yeah. And so like I do pay attention to the signs that my body is telling me when I'm out in public. Sometimes I'm starting to learn the differences because I do work in a restaurant, so I'm around people for at least 3 days of my entire, and I work at a busy restaurant, so I'm around people all the time when I'm there. And sometimes I'm not as consciously aware of me giving or taking or anything like that. I also sometimes I'm paying attention to the signs in my body, like when I get tingly, how I feel after I leave work. Sometimes I leave work like drained, like I'm so tired before I even get home. Sometimes I have to take a nap. Granted, I do start work like really early in the morning. But I just had to really, sometimes I'll go into work and be like, okay, I am open to anything that is in my highest good so that I don't miss out on all the messages because, you don't want to close yourself off completely because you want to be able to still be able to pay attention to your guides or even your inner self. Um, but the boundaries part has been also part of my journey in learning boundaries because coming from toxic relationships, I didn't even know what boundaries were, to be honest.
Hmm.
I had to learn them. I'm still learning them. Um, and I think the boundaries part has probably been the hardest part of the entire journey, like sticking to the boundaries, setting the boundary and actually sticking to the boundary has been a journey in itself. Um, but I am not like when I'm working with someone, then I'm obviously open more to, feeling into what they're feeling. I am channeling through it, so I'm actually transmuting it in the moment rather than being open and taking everything that's coming at me at once. Um, but sometimes I do leave myself energetically open. It's not always the best idea. But I do try to set some boundaries with myself before I walk into work. And I shield a little bit, not too much so that people can't get access at all. Because I do know I hold a very healing aura. I do believe that I'm at my job for a reason. I do know that just sitting and my energy is healing and transformating for people if they're open for it. So I try not to close myself off too much, because I do believe that, holding the frequency that I hold helps others while I'm just doing my normal life duties of being a waitress. And I'm a very people person. So,
I
but
really
we,
like that.
yeah, it's I love serving. I love being around the people. I love having the conversations that I have. I love that I randomly meet the most awesome people. I
Mhm.
love the most awesome conversations that I randomly have with the people. I've built a nice regular customer base for myself. And that they're awesome. The regulars that come in and see me, they're so awesome. They're like I just can't even imagine like the people that are coming into my life now are like completely different than the people that were coming into my life before.
They're
And it's
matching
because
your
I'm open to it.
frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I'm open to it more and I'm actually like, yeah, exactly, my frequency. And like
Mhm.
people are just there's sometimes I get that one or two that I try not to let ruin my day, but there's always somebody that counter counteracts it and just kind of like, okay, that one person, they're going through their own stuff. I have to realize that it's not me. It is not personal. It is just a thing.
Yeah.
And I paying attention to like the full moon energies kind of helps, but at least it's not really that helpful sometimes because I'm like, I'm going through it too. So,
This is quite unique because everyone else that I have interviewed or that I have worked with um, have this like heavy feeling towards the three-dimensional job or the 3D space that they're in, and they're like just can't wait to get out of there because it just feels heavy because it's not in alignment. And
mhm,
for you to come to this conclusion that hey, I'm here still for a reason, and I'm aware of my energy, and I know that it
mhm.
helps people, and you seem quite happy to hold that space in
Yeah.
where you're there, and it's very unusual. I haven't seen somebody else like that that
I
is
make
like
really good money there too. It's my financial situation has changed quite a bit over the last year, over even the last year,
mhm,
since I have allowed myself to like just be more open. I actually really do enjoy serving. That's what I've done I've always been in the industry. So I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. And even when someone like, what would you go to school for? I'm like, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Even if I wanted to go back to school and have a 9 to 5 career, I wouldn't even know I don't even know what I would go to school for because I
mhm,
could never. And I actually enjoy even the spiritual parts of like the business part of it. Like I'm glad to have a 3D job that allows me to take the pressure off my own business because once I put pressure on myself for that, then it's I have a tendency of putting pressure on myself. And what I've noticed when I put pressure on myself, it's never a good thing. It
never a
never
good
works out in
thing.
my favor, ever. And it just ends up being more pressure on myself. So
Amazing. So well I can talk to you all night. This is
I
like
know
has
I
been
could.
such a great conversation, and I really love your heart of service to other women, and especially helping other women who are going through or wanting to get out of toxic relationships and finding themselves and heal deeply. Because our journeys really are our own school so that we can
Mhm.
then help others, and going through all of that and now being able to really know it from the inside, like hey, this is what it looked like. I didn't even know I was being abused, and that word, when someone said it, I was like,
Yeah.
what? Like, that's
Yeah.
me,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Because it can be so subtle. Just I don't know, it just was so subtle. I would have never have known. And
Mm-hmm.
it really did like spark that, what? That's what's happening right now. And
Yeah.
then I mean, but then I realized, even then, like I abused myself too. And that was something I had to really look at too. Like the shadow aspect of it really has been helpful because it's helpful in the sense of like it's helped me love myself a lot harder and a lot deeper. Um, it's not always helpful in my case because I do tend to get dragged into my darkness, but I also don't look at it as a bad thing anymore because every time I come out of that space, I'm like, all right, let's take on the world now. So I allow myself to be my Pisces moon self and swim through my depths, however long that takes me to get out of. And I mean, it's a journey in itself, but it's helped me discover so much like magic within myself and it's just yeah, I don't know. I'm like very grateful for this journey. I don't think I would have like the fact that it turned into a spiritual one was probably the most surprising part of it. But I would have like never expected my life to be the way it is now. And it's it's not like this luxurious like living, but I don't care because like I'm happier, I'm lighter, I have great friendships, I have a great job, I have great like just great opportunities every day to, better myself or my situation. And I'm just continuing to grow and evolve spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. Just it's just been quite a journey. And I really am just happy where I am at right now.
Mm, that's great. Where can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook. My name would be under Jenna Nova. I did start a business page, The Sacred Sounds of Nova. You can view there and add me there if you'd like. It's kind of like one of those, I use it, but I don't. But Jenna Nova would be the best place to reach me. Um, and then that's pretty, I'm mostly on Facebook. You can, same thing on TikTok. My name is the same everywhere, The Sacred Sounds of Nova, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok,
And
and
I'll put
Facebook.
all of your links down
Yeah.
in the description. Great. Is there anything else you would like to share or tell the audience before we go?
I've shared this message quite a lot lately because I think it's one I always need to hear, but try not to compare yourself to others and their journey. Um, it's not really helpful, and you're on your own journey and you'll get there in your own time, and everybody's journey is going to look different. And just don't be afraid to be yourself because the most beautiful parts of yourself are the ones that you're afraid to show other people. And the ones that you're afraid to be rejected, those are the most beautiful parts of yourself. The ones that we are afraid to actually show to other people. And you'll find that if you do show those parts of yourselves and do it so unapologetically that you'll find your people and the ones that love you deeply, and it'll bring your soul family in. That's basically how it happened my whole journey. Does like it just don't compare yourself. It's not going to do you any good. It's and we're all different and
Beautifully
all
said.
unique.
That's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I really have
Thank
enjoyed
you
this,
for
and I hope that
having
everybody really got a lot out of this conversation.
me.
So I'll speak to you next time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
If you enjoy this interview, please like and share with as many people as you feel that will really like to hear this story and other stories that are on this podcast. Leave me a comment. Let us know how this has helped you. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.